Wagging Tails podcast. I'm your host, Jay. Today, I'm going to be talking about a topic that I've experienced for the past couple of weeks working with a few clients. It is the topic of the dangers of aversive techniques in dog training. So, it's a conversation that has the potential to change how we interact with our dogs for the better, and I'm really hoping that this message gets out to a lot more people. Now, first things first, let's clarify what I mean by aversive techniques. So, aversive techniques are training methods that use what we call negative stimuli, things that dogs find unpleasant, right, to discourage a lot of unwanted behaviors or what we deem as bad behaviors. This can include anything from shock collars, your standard choke chains, to even harsh verbal scoldings to your dogs when your tone is different and you're raising your voice. While the intent for most people is to correct the behavior, there are a lot of unintended consequences that can be very severe. I'll break it down for you guys into a few critical areas which I feel is the most important for you to understand, such as emotional or psychological impacts, your potential health risk, real life consequences, and I'm going to be sharing more effective alternatives with you guys as well. So, of course, let's start with the emotional and psychological impacts. Dogs, as we know now, are sentient beings that are capable of experiencing quite a wide range of emotions. Not so much that we can experience, but they do still have a wide range of emotions. When we apply aversive methods, what we're essentially doing is you're instilling fear and anxiety in your pets. For example, a dog that receives a shock, no matter how little, even if it's just a vibration or whatever, when it barks, may learn to stop barking, yes, but it could also develop a fear of situations that trigger that barking behavior. It's important to remember that behaviors are often very context dependent. A dog that is punished for barking at another dog, in whatever form you can think of, can become very fearful or even aggressive towards other dogs simply because it associates other dogs with unpleasant experiences. From your point of view, you are shocking your dog or doing whatever form of aversive technique to your dog when your dog is barking at another dog. From your dog's point of view, they get this unpleasant experience, they become uncomfortable or they feel pain or whatever when they look at another dog, because they don't associate looking at another dog with barking. That's just a very normal response that the dog does, whether it's out of fear, out of reactivity, out of excitement, whatever it is, and then they feel even more unpleasantness. So your dog looks at another dog, gets a shock, they start to think that that dog is causing them, not that dog in particular, dogs is causing them to feel all of these aversive techniques. So that's the whole base of aversive techniques. So let me tell you guys some experiences that I've had over the past few weeks. I'll change the names, of course. So if you're listening, you know who you are, but don't be shy about it. Let's say, so there's this Labrador mix who's called Bella, because everybody knows a Labrador named Bella, don't they? So her owner believed that she was being too vocal, right? She was barking a lot. She decided to use a shock collar or one of those barking, I can't remember, a bark collar basically. So when the thing hears a bark, it sends a shock. Initially, Bella did stop barking. Yes, it is always a short-term fix because it is the way it is, right? It's a aversive technique. Soon the owner noticed Bella was becoming a lot more anxious, and that's when they contacted me. Bella would hide whenever someone knocked on the door. Like previously, when someone was at the door, Bella would run up and start barking and start being excited, being a Labrador basically. But then now whenever she hears footsteps of people outside the home, even if it's not at their own home, like it's just a neighbor, she would cower away and hide in the corner. And it got worse over time because the owners did not associate that current behavior with the bark collar. Instead, they just thought that, oh, Bella's growing up, and that's the way she is. And Bella was actually suffering from stress and fear. to the point that Bella was cowering away from her own family. So can you imagine you not feeling safe in your own home? That affected her behavior, that affected her health. In the dog training world, we refer to this as fear-based behavior. A dog trained with aversive techniques can become hypersensitive to certain triggers, leading to responses like this. It's born purely out of anxiety rather than understanding. So as pet owners, our job is to understand where this behavior is coming from and seek out the best method to help your dogs with. So, if you guys can see Blue, she's here. So, okay. I'm going to talk about potential physical health effects of aversive training. There's a growing body of research out there that links stress with various health issues in dogs, and I have experienced it firsthand myself. Constant exposure to stress hormones can lead not only to behavioral problems, but there's also a lot of physical ailments such as stomach issues, your gastrointestinal issues, skin conditions, obesity due to things like increased cortisol levels. Stress in dogs is just like us in humans. They can manifest in a variety of ways. So each and every one of us have different ways of managing stress, of how to when we encounter a stressful situation, we all do different things. Some people face them head on, some people take a step back to consider things, some people avoid it completely. So under stress, dogs can overeat or lose their appetite completely. Others may become destructive. Some can become extremely fearful. Some can become aggressive and things like that. Worst case scenarios, I've seen chronic stress lead to long-term health complications. Yeah, Blue, when she came to us, when I got her initially, she had a lot of skin issues that a lot of people chalked up to environmental issues, right? Because they did the whole food allergy, introducing proteins week after week kind of thing. They did all of that, and then they deemed it to be behavioral. I mean, they deemed it to be environmental. But I soon realized that it wasn't. It was stress related. So she had patches of skins missing, no, patches of fur, not skin, sorry, patches of fur missing all around her body and things like that. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out why at the start. So for the first couple of months, I really like wrapped her up in a blanket before I brought her out for walks. I used boots and stuff like that just to make sure it got better. Gave her so many drugs to try and help, and even had like the best vets to take a look at her. But one thing I realized was that the more I stuck to my routine of doing training and then working with her behavioral issues, like she was very aggressive to other dogs in the beginning. We worked on that. She was very scared of guests coming to the home. The more I worked on all those things and I see the improvement that she's had over the months, the more I realized that her skin was getting better as well. So it wasn't just environmental. Sure, there might be some bits of environmental in there, but majority of it was definitely from stress. I know that when I'm under a lot of stress, I eat more. It is what it is, right? So I'm gonna talk to you guys about another client that I've had. I think this was about 2 weeks ago. It's a young, I think it was a year and 10 months, almost 2 years, a border collie, very energetic, beautiful dog. We'll call him Max, because that's a border collie's name. So Max owners, they tried using a prong collar and to discourage pulling, because that's what border collies do, right? They're young, they're energetic, they like to run and go for walks all the time. So the owners couldn't help it and couldn't control the walking, and then they tried using a prong collar. While this tactic temporarily solved the issue, like Max started walking nicely next to them, it led Max to develop a fear of walks altogether. So Max hated going on walks now. And it got to a point that when the owners took out the leash, Max showed signs of aggression. And then for a good, I don't know, almost a week, they couldn't bring Max out for a walk because Max bit them. Anyone who took the leash and got near Max got bitten. And at the start, they didn't realize that it was because of that. They just thought that his body language didn't show that he was being scared of walks, because you know how border collies, those of you who have or have worked with experienced border collies in your life, you realize that border collies, they tend to do this thing whereby they go like lower to the ground, and they kind of like lower their ears, and then they kind of like stalk their prey. The Max was showing a lot of that, but for no particular reason, from what they said. And then when someone tried to, I think it was the dad, or was it the son, who tried to put the leash on, Max ran first for the first time, just ran around the house and tried to get away, hid under the sofa. To them, it was, they thought Max was playing, because Max does that, a border collie, right? Max would like go grab something that he's not supposed to take, and then when someone chased him, then he would just play around with them. So they thought that Max was doing that, to the point that they just grabbed Max, and then they tried to put, and then Max flailed about and eventually just bit the father or the son on the hand. And because of all that stressful situations day in and day out, Max developed a lot of digestive issues, actually, from the anxiety he faced each time. There was a point whereby they actually managed to put the choke chain on him and tried to bring him out. He shat himself right in the home. He just relieved himself. That's how much fear Max had. And it's really sad, because dogs love walks. That's something that a lot of people will know. Whether your dog has issues with walks or not, dogs in general, they love to go for walks. It helps them relieve so much stress. It helps them experience the world. It desensitizes them to the environment. It helps them socialize well to the outdoors, and there's so many things. But I do know quite a few dogs who have very big fears of walks, and it's all about the bond that you have with you and your pet. If you use aversive techniques, you are essentially just breaking that bond, and then there's so much more work to do if that bond is broken. Which brings me nicely into my next point, actually. I wanted to discuss some broader implications of aversive training, especially within the context of the human-animal bond. As we all know, dogs are social animals, right? They thrive on our companionship and trust. When we employ fear-based techniques, we jeopardize this bond, and you can even erode this trust that you have between dogs and owners. Imagine how it feels for a dog to know that every time it engages in a behavior that it has already learned to do, it could be met with pain or correction, as a lot of aversive trainers will tell you. This emotional toll is so immense. A dog that is subjected to aversive techniques might start to exhibit signs of aggression. Not might start to, they will. Eventually they will, when whatever is causing them the stress overcomes the amount of pain that you can do. So right now the stress is here. You are using this amount of pain, just slightly higher, right? But the stress is still here. The fear, the anxiety is still here. So it still will overtake it eventually. Then you have to increase the level of pain that you have to subject your dog to. And it just goes up, goes up, goes up. At some point, you're going to kill your dog. So what's the point in that? It's not just a reaction to its training, but it becomes a defense mechanism against fear and anxiety, that it would just, rather you do not engage with your dog feels like, I don't want you to come near me at all. And for your dog to reach that level, it really shows how terrible all of these techniques are. And I really, really hope that people out there listen, because I've had so many clients, both Fraser and myself, that when we talk about aversive techniques, right, there are so many trainers out there who use it, and then our clients, ex-clients of those trainers, they realize that, oh, you know what, it's actually becoming worse. And then those trainers will probably just tell you, oh, just up the shock levels, up, you sort of pull harder, tug higher, whatever it is. You're not allowing your dog to be a dog. And then they come to us, and then we have to do even more work, because that bond is already broken. There's no trust there. If you employ the right techniques right off the bat, you will realize it's such a big difference. But you use the wrong techniques at the start, you build a foundation that's based off fear, that's based off pain, that's based off anxiety. If I were to take a gun and then point it at someone and then ask them to do something for me, they will do it, because they're scared of dying. But what if that whatever I'm asking them to do is more worrying to them than their lives, than a gun? They're just gonna say, shoot me then. There is always this consequence of using aversive techniques. So of course, those of you listening, if aversive techniques are very detrimental to dog owners, what should we do instead, right? So of course, I said this many times, and I'm only repeating this because I've gone through this myself, and I know many clients who have benefited so much from this. The answer lies in positive reinforcement. This particular training method focuses on rewarding the desired behaviors instead of punishing unwanted ones. So positive reinforcement can be in many forms. It's treats, praise, play, affection, whatever your dog deems to be happy with, right? So these are very obvious ones. You have to figure out which one is your dog's highest form of reward. Blue's highest form of reward is play. So if she does something very well, or we made progress with a certain behavior that we're working on, I take out a new toy, or press the squeaker and things like that. Ori, it's food. She really is a glutton for it, so I use treats a lot. Both of them, of course, I still use praise and I use affection. When dogs are rewarded for good behavior, they are more likely to repeat that behavior because you're fostering a sense of achievement and confidence in your dog. It's very similar for us. If your boss always tells you that I'm gonna cut your pay if you don't do this on time, I'm gonna take away your leave if you're not gonna do this on time, compared to a boss who rewards you for doing it on time by giving you, I don't know, an extra half a day off, or whatever form of reward that you desire. Which one instills more confidence? Which one would you want to work for more, right? So for instance, if you have a dog that jumps on guests, instead of punishing the dog for jumping, you can train them to sit when guests arrive. You're rewarding a sitting behavior with treats or praise or play, whichever it is. The dog learns that sitting is the behavior that earns them positive outcomes. They develop good manners, so to speak, without instilling fear or anxiety. But just doing this alone is not enough, because teaching your dog to sit does not teach them to be calm when guests arrive. So that's the behavioral part of things. A lot of obedience trainers out there will just tell you to teach your dog to sit, do sit 1,000 times. But you're not teaching your dog what it is to be calm in the presence of guests. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on this, so I hope you guys will benefit from this. Let's say your dog is getting overexcited with guests. That is a learned behavior. A dog does not just get overexcited with guests and starts jumping out of them for no particular reason. It comes from a lot of reinforcements, unintentional reinforcements. So you go out for a day at work, you come home, you want to see your dog, of course, they're so cute, they're so lovely, you love them, and then when they jump out on you, you just give them some love. So your dog was already rewarded for jumping up on people that come through the door, you in particular. It is not as easy to teach your dog that, oh, you can jump out on me, you can't jump out on my guests. No, it doesn't work that way. You teach your dog to be calm, and then when you wish to interact with your dog and get them all excited, then you do so. So it's very much your choice, I would say. I have no issues with Blue or Ori jumping up on me. I can get them to go to bed when guests come over, but I don't feel the necessity to do that because I feel like I have a good control of the situation. I'm not too worried about it. And if someone wants to come and visit my house, you better be very comfortable with dogs, otherwise don't come and visit my house. Simple as that. I really have no I have no qualms about telling someone to screw off from my house if they're supposed to be a guest that doesn't like my dogs. So how do you implement all of these positive reinforcement things properly? So let's talk about the sit behavior for this, right? So if your dog can do sit normally, which most dogs out there can do, you have to be able to get from doing a sit in a low stimuli environment, a low stress environment, to doing sit in a slightly stimulated environment, a slightly stressful environment. So what do I mean by that? Do this safely, of course. If you need to have your dog on their leash or on their harness, please do so. So you're doing sit normally in the home. Nobody's around, just you, just your dog. Next, try doing sit with the main door open. So if you open the main door, your dog has a lot of things going on in their mind. Oh, are we going for a walk? Oh, is someone coming? Oh, what's going to happen? If you can do sit from level 1, no stimuli, to level 2, small bits of stimuli that you introduce in a very controlled environment, that's why I say use a leash in case your dog dashes out of the house, then you've already made that progress. Next, you try doing sit when you're outside the house or at the lift lobby or at wherever you can think of that is slightly more exciting for your dog, but not too exciting. So the problem with a lot of trainers is that they'll tell you that, oh, just teach your dog sit, and then they can do sit, but they can't do sit when it matters. So like you have a dog that gets overexcited with other dogs. You go for a walk, your dog runs up to the other dog, and then the other dog is obviously uncomfortable with your dog, and you want your dog to just sit. Your dog doesn't do that because your dog has not been taught that sit. This particular training exercise applies to every aspect of their lives. They've only been taught to do it in the home where there's no stress involved. Timing is very crucial. Reward must be given immediately after the desired behavior is achieved, so the dog associates that action with the reward. You can't get your dog to sit and then wait and walk away and go take the treat and then give it back to your dog, because in that couple of seconds that you left your dog to go take a treat and come back to your dog can associate the action to be a completely different thing. From us, it's very obvious that it's a sit. For your dog, it could be a stay. It could be when you come back to your dog, that's the reward. Your dog could be looking at the ceiling fan, or your dog could be looking out the window. There's so many different actions that a dog can associate. That's why timing is impeccable. You have to be giving the reward immediately. Next is consistency. Make sure that you are always consistent with your commands and your rewards. Everyone that interacts with your dog, everyone in the household, everyone that, if you have a helper, you have kids, you have friends that come over often, you have family that comes over often, they all have to be on the same page regarding all these rules and all of the same training methods. Because how many of you as kids had issues with like mom telling you something but dad telling you something else? You get confused, don't you? So dogs are the same. They can get confused and then they'll just decide to do whatever they want. So consistent. If everyone calls your dog by the name Max, everyone has to call your dog by the name Max. You can't have someone calling your dog Maxi or Maximilian or whatever it is. In training, this is the most important one. So I've already set Blue's name as Bluey when I want her to do things. So I became very consistent with that. Last but not least, patience. Training takes time. You have to look for your small victories and understand that this is a learning process. It will not be an overnight fix because you are not being a dumbass and using aversive techniques. This helps you in the long term. You cannot expect this to be done, and I'm very upfront with a lot of my clients, especially for the first session with me. I will tell them that I can't give you a exact deadline. Like I can't say that, oh, this issue that your dog has will be done in 2 months. No, I can't say that because everybody has different learning capacity. Everyone picks things up at a different pace. Some dogs are quicker, some dogs are slower. Sometimes you get busier, sometimes you have more time to do training. It's completely at your dog's progress. But I can tell you what I've experienced with other clients that have similar issues and how long they took and what was their routine like, what was their schedules like, how often did they have sessions with me, how often they did the training that I told them to do. So that is to be very realistic. So right, I can't stress enough how important it is to educate ourselves as dog owners. There are a lot of resources available to a fault. Actually, there's so many things available on social media that a lot of us get overwhelmed with so much information of different people telling you to do different things, right? And then you're at a loss, like, oh, what should I do? This person A says this, person B says this, and then you try everything, but you're overwhelming your dog as well. We can process information a lot better. There's training books that I would recommend, online courses that specialize in positive reinforcement techniques. You have to look for trainers who are certified in fear-free methods and who you can tell, right? You can tell if somebody prioritizes the emotional well-being of your pet, of your dog, over someone who doesn't. It becomes very obvious, right? And be wary of schools, I would say. So I've recently come across this issue, right, that there are a lot of certified, you can go online, in Singapore at least, you can go online AVS website or the NParks website, and you can look for trainers who are certified in fear-free methods in Singapore. There's a whole list of them. So let's say you pick one out, right? And then this person is running like a board and train or a daycare facility with training involved. The problem with that is this person who opened this place is certified in fear-free methods. But this person is not necessarily the person who is training your dogs. I've had this issue a lot of times, and more recently actually. You have to really figure out whether the person that is handling your dog is certified and is using the right methods. Because even though I am certified or Fraser is certified, and whoever we teach doesn't become certified. That's not the way it works. We cannot certify other people. So these people who are certified, they themselves are supposed to be qualified, and then they probably told their employees about, oh, you should do this, you should do that. But it's a very different thing, because how do I put this? I'm certified, but just because I teach my clients doesn't mean my clients are certified. You get that, right? It's pretty obvious, right? So always figure out who is the one handling your dog. I've had quite a few issues with this recently, and it really pissed me off, right? So when you consider joining like local training classes that focus on positive reinforcement, it will help you enhance your skill. It can help you strengthen the bond with your dog, but make sure to ask questions. Always ask questions. And at any moment someone looks like they're short with you, they're frustrated, or they are starting to lose their patience and things like that, leave. That's one very important thing. I know it sounds obvious, right? But sometimes a lot of people out there, and I know this, right? They're at a loss of what to do with the behavior of the dog. So they start to seek out all these sorts of whatever methods they can think of, whatever methods their friend told them, or whatever methods that have worked for other people in the past. It might not work for you still. And then they start to become desperate, and they're like, oh, you know what, maybe we should try a shock collar, or we should try a prong collar. Please don't fall down that line. Look for help. Like, if you really need the help, drop a message to us. Both Fraser and myself, we're more than willing to help you. Ask questions along the way. My goal as a canine behaviorist, as a dog trainer, is to eradicate my role, if that makes sense. So I want the knowledge of the correct methods for dog training to be so readily available worldwide that no one needs a dog trainer anymore, unless of course it's a really difficult dog that has been through a lot of trauma and things like that, right? So I hope this message finds you guys well. So before I wrap up, I want to leave you guys with this thought. The way we choose to train our dogs, that was weird. Sorry, my headphone just suddenly shut off. So before I wrap up, I want to leave you guys with this thought. The way that we choose to train our dogs has lasting implications on their well-being and our relationship with them. Commit to fostering an environment filled with love and understanding, and become advocates for humane training methods. I'm Jay. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Wagging Tails podcast. I really hope you guys feel inspired to reevaluate your training methods and consider the benefits of positive reinforcement. Until next time, be kind to your furry friends, keep those tails wagging, and keep those paws happy.